This is a video by Richmond. Today we're working on a GM 3.4 liter 6-cylinder. This procedure can pertain to the 3.1s also. What we're doing today is we're replacing the thermostat. Now the first thing we're going to do is get the vehicle up in the air on ramps so we can drain the coolant. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to slide this spring clamp back on the top radiator hose and slide it off and drain our coolant from this top radiator hose. The thermostat is very high in the engine, so we don't have to drain all the coolant from the engine. Next we have to remove this duct that goes to the throttle body to the air box. There is a electrical connector right here, and this plastic piece, and we remove that, and you'll remove this duct, and that will give us some space right there. And what we'll do is, after we remove that duct, remove this front half of the air cleaner right here, and that will give us a little extra room also. Now here is the thermostat housing right here. It's held on by two of these 13mm headed bolts. The top one is pretty accessible. You can see I've got this thermostat housing already off. The bottom one is not too accessible. It's very cramped down in here underneath this crossover pipe. Now what I did, I used this wrench right here, which is a Volkswagen Beetle carburetor wrench, and that enabled me to get underneath here and get that bottom bolt. And what I did is, once I had that wrench on that bottom bolt, I used this flat bladed screwdriver underneath the wrench and twisted it, and that lifted it up enough to get that bottom bolt. Now what I did was I leaned over here on the fender and got my left hand and used my left hand to get at that bolt, just like this. That worked good for me, and the smaller hands you have, the better. And once you get those bolts out, you'll be able to just reach in, grab the housing, and it'll come right out. And there's the thermostat right there. Just go in there with a piece of some needle nose pliers, a screwdriver, and pop that thermostat out of there. Okay, I just put the thermostat in place with the new O-ring, and I got the housing in, and if you look, you can see that I have the bolt partially in place, and the thermostat is laying flat. So now we're going to see if we can start that top bolt. Okay, the thermostat is still in its position it needs to be in, and I've got the top bolt finger tight, and it's holding the housing into position. Now we're going to tackle that bottom bolt. So the bottom bolt, I'm going to go in like this with my left hand underneath there and start it that way. Okay, I just got that bottom bolt started. Didn't take too long, about 10 minutes or so. Now what I did, I used this screwdriver right here, went down, held the bolt in place while I had my left hand underneath there, and I was turning the bolt. And then I moved the outlet here just a little bit, make sure that I was lined up, and then it started. So that's the hard part right there. Now we just need to tighten those bolts. Okay, the bolts are all tight, so we're all done there. I apologize for this job. I had it all done, went in the house, downloaded the video, and I deleted everything off the camera, so I had to come back here and do a quick a quick job on this. Otherwise, it would have been a little bit better. Now, what I did right here is put a rag down here because you're going to drop the bolt and you don't want it to go down inside of a crevice or something. So do that. Put a rag down there. And now when you get the when you take the thermostat off, take a Scotch-Brite, go in there where the thermostat was, and clean all that. And so now all it's just a matter of putting the hose back on, putting this duct, the air box, and filling up the coolant, put the battery back on. You might have to bleed the air out of it. If you happen to have to do that, there's a bleeder right here. I'd be a little careful with that bleeder. If it snapped, you'd have to take off this housing, and we don't want to have to do that. So, well, that's it for replacing a thermostat on your GM 3.1, 3.4 engine.